So, the Brexiteers essentially at this point are they're getting quite desperate. There's no other way around it, and they are going to start pumping out, as we've already discussed, massive amounts of propaganda to make no deal and how being completely this quote unquote fresh start they are trying to sell to the UK as, oh, it's not bad, it's just it's the usual Project Fear line, but if anything, Project Fear, thanks to Yellowhammer, has become reality. And the people say that it's an old report. There's already reports saying that that was new as of last month. So, not only that, but we're also led to understand that the government are being forced to publish their new Brexit impact reports on a no deal. So, Yellowhammer, when those reports come out, Yellowhammer is not only going to get confirmed to be true, but pretty much everything it said on that report is true. And it's looking more and more like Brexit, any idiot can start an avalanche. It takes a true idiot to think that they can somehow direct an avalanche. And this is the situation that we are in at the moment. And one of the big things that they are going to start pushing is this US-UK trade deal. So this comes to us today of Zello Street. Go and support them. I'll leave a link down to it below. Really good blog. If you're a lefty as well, go and read it. It's amazing. So, cheered on by the right-wing leaning press, our free and fearless press, the alleged Prime Minister Alexander Boris D. Piffle Johnson has decided that he will not only invent a trade deal with the USA, which does not exist, and may not for years to come, but he will enhance its magical qualities by telling the comb-over crybaby Donald Trump that the deal, which still does not exist, should be shaped in the UK's favour. In what way is that going to happen? That's not. This is, as usual, magical thinking. This is the exact same magical thinking that was saying that the EU is somehow going to roll over and accept everything we tell them to do. So in doing so, Bozo the Clown showed not only that he is supremely clueless on the subject of trade, but also that when it comes to protectionism, the USA is in no position to lecture anyone, something that the right-leaning press managed to tell its readers yesterday. Sorry, not to tell its readers yesterday. So, the response from Trump has, to no surprise, been a mix of usual propaganda and big bravado. So, this is from him. Quote, "We're going to do a very big trade deal, bigger than we've ever had with the UK before. Big, big, really big. This is the quote. This is how ridiculous Trump actually sounds, by the way. This will be talked up by the press, and it will guarantee nothing. While Speaker Pelosi is determined not to let any trade deal pass in the House if it compromises on the status of the Good Friday Accords, which a no-deal exit will ultimately do. So you ain't getting a trade deal." So the Sunday Express can claim, quote, "US trade deal is done," is completely bogus. And as usual, the Express, the champion cheerleader of this stuff, and trust me, we're going to start going into the propaganda the Express is pumping out over Brexit and the no-deal Brexit. For example, this first one, the fact that a US-UK trade deal is apparently done. No, it hasn't been done. There is no such deal in place. So, what's worse and revealing in its own right is that Bozo is completely clueless on trade. Here's what he said earlier as reported by the BBC. Quote, Melton Mowbray pork pies, which are sold in Thailand and in Iceland, are currently unable to enter the US market because of, I don't know, some sort of Food and Drug Administration restriction. Some restriction, and there was more. UK bell peppers cannot go into the US market at all. Wine shipments are heavily restricted. If you want to export wine made in England to the US, you have to go through a US distributor. There is a tax on British microbreweries in the US that does not apply to US microbreweries in the UK. I don't think that we sell a single joint of British lamb in the United States. We don't sell any beef. So these are all the complaints from the apparently non-protectionist United States. Like I say, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen in our favour. The US farmers are not going to roll over and suddenly allow British beef and lamb to be sold in their country. Remember, in the US, if you actually look at trade at the moment, even individual states are protectionist as to what they allow in from other states. So do you think they're going to allow this, export our goods into the US with no tariffs? Don't think so. So the government added that tariffs on UK goods in the US can reach up to 28% for fashion, 15% for machinery, and 35% for food and drink. And at this point, you have to ask, what was all this nonsense they've been talking about the EU being protectionist? Because now we're going to be treated as a third country if they get their way. That means that all these things that apparently products that we can't get from outside of, from other countries, all the products that we currently get and enjoy are now going to be subject to tariffs. And like I say, the most important trade deal we will sign and ever are part of, even now at the moment, is with the EU. That's not going to change post-Brexit. But enough. Pork pies, British wine and bell peppers aren't going to be an effective substitute for all those automotive sector jobs likely lost with Brexit. He's right again. Nor is US agribusinesses likely want to see any more UK produce allowed to rock up on its manor. As the Beeb has also told David Herring, the UK director of the European Centre for International Policy and Economics, says that the US would be loath to get rid of the barriers intended to protect US producers. He added, "The US is quite protectionist. The US has never done a trade deal with the likes of which Mr. Johnson is describing." The deal being talked up would not be in the UK's advantage. Forget the Telegraph's blathering of Boris tells Trump it's time to help British farms. The deal the USA wants is one that lets their products into our market, not into theirs. It is, as their ambassador to the UK let slip on the Andy Marsh show, one where the NHS is on the table. Yet Bozo and his press cheerleaders cling on to their delusion. It is, after all, necessary for them to do so in order to persuade their readers that all is well when it's not. Just because the Donald speaks English doesn't mean he is our friend. And this is what's going to happen to us post a deal. All these products, these now cheap products, and even lower standards than ours that we have now for food products, whatever you name it, is going to be, our market's going to get flooded with this stuff, and bang go our British farms, all our UK industries are going to get destroyed because our market, our country, is going to get flooded by US products because this trade deal is not going to favour the UK at all. Just ask Canada. It took their entire economy, and then arguing, which they are now, they are in court on a daily basis with the US over the trade deal that they signed now over about 20 years ago. But there you have it.